Cyrus Mozehi. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Anytime. How was your trip down to Charlotte? You're from here, right?
Yeah, I live 10 minutes away, so it was pretty easy.
Born and raised in North Carolina?
Born in San Diego, raised in San Diego.
Oh, you're a West Coaster.
Yeah, moved here for the opportunity, 4 or 5 years ago.
What opportunity?
Just the real estate market and the green field you see when you fly over.
Yeah, it's a lot different. Yeah, I'm from New York originally, like a big city. I moved down here because I wanted a place where I could buy a bigger house. I have 4 kids. I had 3 at the time. So it seemed like a better place than a big city or next to a big city. Once you get out of the orbit of New York City, it seems like everyone's stress level goes down a little bit,
Yeah, I went to business school in New York City, so I can certainly attest to that. And
where'd you go?
I went to Columbia.
Really?
Yeah.
What you end up getting your degree in?
So it was business school. It was MBA and concentration in real estate.
Okay, gotcha. So I was playing around on your website. So Northway Homes is one of your companies, and Wickenden Partners is another one. Congratulations on both. I feel like people always feel like you have your stuff together when they see you have multiple companies, which I know not to be true because I have like 9 LLCs and I'm a total mess. Kidding. But just so that everyone gets to know you a little bit. Just so that everyone can get to know you a little bit, every company goes through shifts and pivots. I'm curious what you're doing right now with both companies. Is it what you set out to do, or is it really a function of a number of little pivots you made along the way to where you are right now?
Yeah, so we actually have 3 different verticals. We have Northway Homes, which is home builder. We have Wickenden, which is our lender. And then we have Northway Commercial and Multifamily, which buys existing industrial and apartment buildings. Okay. Yep. So, every day we come in and we're in more of an allocation business. We say, okay, is it a better day to be a developer, a lender, or to buy existing assets? Right. And, to answer your question about the shifts and the pivots and it's every day is a shift and a pivot because you don't know where the best risk-adjusted return is that day. You don't know where it's going to be that week. You don't know where it's going to be that month or into the next few years. Right. So every day, my partner Danny and I, we just debate and we say, where is the best place to invest today? Is it to develop land? Is it to build vertical homes? Is it to lend money? Or is it to buy existing assets? Yep. And, leading the past several years, it's been a great time to basically do anything. Yeah. Over the last number of years, the real estate market's gone crazy. In a time where everyone's moving to an area like Charlotte, interest rates were low, and just opportunity was all around, capital was flowing. It must have been easy, right? And so when you started off, it was you and Danny Hirschberg, is that right? Yeah. So I was on your website the other day, and you almost seem like a custom home builder because every one of your houses looks so unique, and they're beautiful. But you also do production home building too. So when you got together with Danny Hirschberg at the very beginning to start this building company, what was kind of the epiphany, or was there an epiphany that caused you to say, hey, this is a good time, a good idea to build this kind of building company? And kind of, I guess the next question is, where did Wickenden Partners start? Like, where did the idea for Wickenden Partners come? Did Northway Homes come first, or did Wickenden Partners come first? What was the evolution? So Wickenden actually came first. We were lending money out to local developers and some home builders, and we looked at the margin and we thought that home building was a pretty interesting space. We didn't have any background in construction or building. Yep. We were really, trained in more Wall Street type jobs. And pretty gutsy going into the building industry because there's a lot of physical things you got to deal with. And it's not just money. It's not just figures on paper, It is, but really what we did is we just broke down the building process. Okay. And what that did for us is we didn't come in with any bad habits. We just came in with a blank slate. Right. And we said, look, this is ultimately at the end of the day, it's a simple operations business. It's more of a factory assembly line business than, anything else. So we just broke it down and created our own internal way to build and tracker and software. And that's kind of, to answer the question about which started first, Wickenden started first. Yep. But we quickly jumped into Northway and really started building homes in 2020. Okay. Because we saw the margin from other builders was really attractive that we were lending to. Yeah.
And when you started the building company, what was the hardest part about it? Because I talk to people all the time that are in the development business. They want to get into the building business. Some are, in the finance business. They want to get into the construction business. Seems like there would be certain hurdles you have to overcome in an operationally minded business like building. Like, what was the hardest part about actually starting it?
If I really boil it down and think about it, there's really three key components, right? You need land acquisitions,
Yep.
you need to operate and execute, which is your actual building, and you need financing,
Yep.
right? So financing we didn't have because we had no balance sheet.
Sure.
We had no money to start. So we were borrowing from expensive lenders, whoever we could really borrow from. So that's a challenge because, without a track record, you have to go pretend to be a player.
Everyone must start out there. Like people in any kind of business don't have any track record, right? It's the hardest part.
That was the biggest.
Business.
The financing was a massive challenge.
Yeah.
How can you scale if you go to a bank and they're really not open for business for you?
Sure, right.
Which is another reason why we created Wickenden, because we saw a lot of great developers out there that, they were delivering a bank quality product, but they didn't have the wherewithal or the ability to go connect with a banker, go sit and have multiple lunches and dinners. Like, nobody really wants to do that. And have deposits with the bank and go through all these hoops just to get a line of credit from a bank to build a few homes.
So that's interesting. So you kind of started off with a blank slate, but you recognized quickly that other builders had the same problem as you guys did. And you guys, because you had you had a finance backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
You were able to speak the language. And was it like you went to the banks and said, hey, this is what we have, blank slate, we're a new company, but we have all of these relationships that we could eventually bring to you. And we're not just us ourselves, we're a company that's a gateway to all these other builders. Is that kind of where the idea of Wickenden's lending business came about?
It came about because, one, we were lending to some other builders originally.
Sure. Yep.
And two, we saw how difficult it was on the Northway side for a builder to procure financing. And, unless you're a massive builder with a massive balance sheet, it still is very difficult to procure financing from a bank.
Yep.
And, we actually have borrowers that we've lent to on the Wickenden side that are bank borrowers, and they've come back to us and said, we don't want to deal with the bureaucracy.
Yep.
You guys fund draws immediately. You underwrite everything in-house. You can pick up the phone and speak to a decision maker. Yeah, it's more expensive, but we provide higher leverage, better service, and it's just a higher touch and overall better lending experience. And being a developer also allows us to know what the borrower needs.
Sure.
So we just think we're a way better counterparty than a banker sitting in an ivory tower trying to originate a loan where we also know the value of land entitlement. A lot of your customers, a lot of your clients.
Right now, one of my customers is borrowing from you. He's doing 6 different developments. I think you're lending on most of them.
Yeah, right? And the reality is, a lot of these bankers, they look at his deals and they don't understand what the value is. They're going to rely on a third-party appraiser that's using backward data and probably doesn't know the value of entitlements. Whereas, us as a developer and builder, we can go to your client and say, look, we understand what this is actually worth. We can provide you with a high leverage solution and get this done quickly for you. And by the way, you don't have any deposits. There's no rigorous underwriting. We can close in a few days, and it's just a one-stop solution for a convenient and quick execution.
That was one of the things he mentioned when we were talking about you as the lender. He was like, I go to banks and I show them a piece of land. And the only thing that's worth so much, but I've done all this entitlement work. I've got it all the way through zoning. I got it all the way through site plan approval. We're now going for our, construction approval. And there's a ton of value that's been added. It's probably worth, 40% more, 60% more than what the appraisal actually shows. And when they go to a bank, they're looking at the appraisal thinking, all right, I can only lend you this much. So is that kind of your secret sauce, I guess? As a lender, if you understand that value, you can look at the entitlement work and actually understand because you've done that work before. Say, all right, I see something that banks don't see. I see that value, so I don't mind taking. To you, it's almost not taking on more risk. It's just giving people almost the same amount of leverage for the value that you see created, right?
Or additional leverage. We're comfortable going higher leverage than a traditional lender. Because we do see the value in those entitlements. But really, it really, what we provide is we de-risk the execution. And what does that mean? It basically means that if I sign up a loan with a bank, there's multiple different layers of approvals that it has to go through. It has to go through credit. It's got to go through underwriting. It's got to appraise correctly. Mm-hmm. We de-risk that all by saying, look, we're the decision makers, Danny and myself.
Yep.
You can pick up the phone and talk to us at any time of the day.
Sure.
Any day of the week. And we're going to tell you whether we can do it or not. Yep. Because it's discretionary capital. It's not a bureaucratic red tape process with the bank.
And it's one of the most frustrating things for people that like builders and developers are natural risk takers, and they want to move quickly, right? They don't want to sitting around trying to explain to someone the value that they're creating in order to get the money they need to create that value. Must be like extremely frustrating for most developers, right?
And the speed, giving up, weeks or months to figure out if a lender can actually even do the project or not. Whereas you can pick up the phone, we can underwrite it, very quickly within a day usually.
Yep.
Or even less.
Yep.
And let them know, hey, this is something we can do or not.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, because one of our biggest advantages across all our business is speed and being able to move quickly and just say, we like this and we can do it at this level, or no, we can, and just let people move on. Same with brokers.
Yeah.
For us, the reason we are a first call from so many different brokers is because we don't waste time. We don't say, hey, I'll get back to you, and just never get back to them.
Sure.
We understand you only get paid when you do deals. Same with us.
Yep.
It's like if we're not...
Same with any kind of real estate, right? I don't know any real estate facet of the real estate business where you actually get paid before you get the deal done.
But
right?
It's amazing to me that...
So maybe attorneys.
There's so many... Yeah. It's amazing to me that there's just so many groups that are just so lackadaisical when it comes to communication.
Yeah.
It's not even about being smart. It's just having like normal, operating procedures with... and being a good partner and being a good counterpart.
Is it just that simple? Did you leverage any kind of like unique technology platform to make communication easier, or is it just making sure you're on top of the ball with making sure someone gets a call back, making sure someone gets an email back? It doesn't seem like it has to be a highly technology driven kind of endeavor to keep available to your clients so that they know you're there.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I've been asked that several times. I go, what platform do you use to manage your relationships or leads or whatever? And I use a notepad and a pen. Yeah, and, right. I think it's kind of old school, but I just know the way my mind works and how I need to work through my processes. And the one piece of technology I do use is an iPad with a keyboard for texting. Because I'm just, people are texting deals all day and you can get back to them quickly.
So Wiccan & Partners lends, but are you also a developer? Are you also an investment platform, or is mainly what you do through Wiccan & Partners financing other builders and developers?
Wiccan is just our lending business.
Okay.
Northway is our development company, and we buy the existing assets through.
So talk to me about like the challenges of being a relatively small building company, and you're going up against bigger companies like NVR and MI Homes and LGI. Like, how do you even compete against those guys? Because they have such sprawling, workforces, and they've got deep pockets, and every single deal you're going after, if it's a big enough deal, you're probably going to be competing against them, right? So is there a way you approach, is there a principle that you use when you're out in the market trying to figure out what to spend your time on that all right, I want to avoid the big guys because this project is something that they're probably not going to go after? Or do you go head to head with them and just say, screw it, I'm going to make a run at this, and we're going to do our best to pull the levers that we could pull?
Yeah, it's interesting. In Mecklenburg County, we're actually larger than most private builders by volume in terms of building detached single-family homes.
Really? What's your volume?
We're the third largest builder in Mecklenburg County for detached product, and the largest privately owned builder in Mecklenburg County for detached product. We'll do about 300 homes this year in Charlotte.
Okay.
We'll do about 30 in Charleston. And we're starting to build in Wilmington also. But
do you only do detached product? Do you do townhome product as well?
We do some townhome product, but it's got to be an urban location.
Okay. Right now, like townhomes are having a really tough time. There's an oversupply of townhomes. Prices aren't, product isn't moving as quick. I know for me, we're getting sent deals all the time that are townhome product, and it used to be we used to get 3 or 4 offers if it's in a decent location. Now everyone's kind of veering away because there's a lot of townhome products that's been developed mainly because of the UDO here in Charlotte. It seems like it's a lot easier to build townhome product, and it's more financially feasible to make something work if it's high density townhome versus single family detached. So, that aspect of it, having less homes, having good locations in Mecklenburg County, it must be pretty tough to find locations where you could actually make the numbers work.
It is. I think the UDO has really basically made any site a townhome site.
Yeah,
and
it's true, and that's what they built. Because why wouldn't you build it
because it looks good in a pro forma?
Yeah, it looks great in a pro forma versus single family. But when it comes time to sell those units, the question is there a ready, willing, and able buyer base? And it seems like right now, with their interest rates being higher, the entry level buyer market has been really, really hurt by that. Right? Mm-hmm. People have to come up with a large down payment, larger monthly expenses to buy anything nowadays. So, how does that affect your single family business? Is that your audience, the first time home buyer, or are you looking for the move up buyer or luxury buyer?
Yeah. So our core business is really the 3 to kind of 550 space. That's where our most volume is. Yep. We have a signature series that is in the kind of 850 to $1.5 million range, and really high quality locations in urban infill locations in Charlotte.
Yep.
With respect to competing with these other builders, it's very difficult because public builders have the ability to buy down rates. They have the ability to throw out massive incentives.
Yep.
And
because they just want to recycle their capital, buy the next lots, and then build it.
And their costs are lower than ours.
Yeah.
Because if I'm D.R. Horton, I buy 80,000 fridges a year. Obviously,
right.
My costs are going to be lower than Northway that builds 300 in one market.
Yep.
Right. So we just don't. You can't compete with them, and you have to approach your business differently. You can't just go head to head with a massive public company that has cheaper cost of capital.
Yep.
Through the bond market, they have lower costs of goods through their scale. Yep. So you don't compete with them. And how we do that is we focus on building different product. And we focus on, projects that they may not be interested in. Yeah,
I was looking at your website the other day. Again, you almost come off like a custom home build because every house that I saw was so unique and they're beautiful. It must be, hard to keep coming up with new designs. You said you also do production product, but from what I saw, like every house on your website seemed like it was a unique snowflake,
That's kind of the goal. Yeah. And is trying to be a little more thoughtful with elevations and design and things that we can spend a little more time on to try to differentiate in a crowded, kind of commoditized market, in the production world.
How scary is it right now versus like where it was 2 years ago before interest rates rose? How scary was it when COVID hit and you didn't know what was going to happen? And then we had a huge run up in real estate values. Like, you've been in this for a while. Like, what was the fear level like in every step of your business? Did you ever think, man, this is a space that's just too scary, I'm going to back away, try to do something else? Or were you just like, I believe in Charlotte enough, I believe in the building business, the lending business enough to just kind of see it through? Because, for me, I had moments of doubt, right? I started my business in 2020, right when COVID hit. And I was like, geez, what luck. I think
you're really the canary in the coal mine with your space. Selling land, lots, those are the first that you feel the impairments and the value changes.
Yeah.
So I think you probably have better data than anybody. But for us, we have a long-term view in what we do. And we like our land positions. We like the investments we make.
Yep.
And we would be fine holding them long-term or kind of working through them. And what that consists of is really, choosing well-located assets. Basically, all our large land positions are located within 485.
Okay.
We don't go out to, the Shelbys or the Albemarles or the, less liquid locations of the world.
Yep.
Because in a downturn, the music stops really quickly there.
Yep.
And we're already starting to see that.
Is Mecklenburg a difficult place to develop land in, to get things approved in? Like, a lot of the reason I think people go out to a Gastonia or a Shelby or, a Concord, things are easier to get approved because there's just more opportunities, more land. But you're sticking to Mecklenburg County mainly, right?
Yeah.
So
it's definitely gotten a lot more challenging here. Our average site plan approval process on a by right project has been close to 18 months.
Wow.
And it used to be within a year. But I'll tell you, Gastonia and these other municipalities, and you'll see Kyle here shortly, and we're working with him on a rezoning in Briar Oaks. That was a fist fight with the mayor and the city council.
Yep.
It's just challenging anywhere you want to be.
Yep.
If you don't want to be there, it's not going to be challenging because nobody else is lobbying to
Kyle
do deals.
DiPietro, who I'm interviewing in a little bit, mentioned like just the other day he was making he was fighting to get an approval done, right? And it's a process.
You should ask him about the Gastonia rezoning. We're rezoning 218 home detached site.
No kidding.
And the mayor basically said in a prior meeting, I don't want these vinyl villages. I don't want this housing here. The next meeting he said, you have to build hardy here, but how can you build affordable housing?
Sure. They want affordable housing, but they don't want, do they want affordable housing out there or more affordable housing out there? Is that their best?
He doesn't know what he wanted. He said, hey, I don't want vinyl homes, but in the next meeting he said, I want a hardy,
Sure.
You have to use hardy, but I also want it to be affordable.
Sure.
At the end of the day, unfortunately, some of these leaders need to rely on their planning staff or, even consult with developers to see what is actually feasible.
And I guess that's an opportunity for firms like yours, even Kyle's, where part of what, you could do is almost advise municipalities on how to get what they want, right? How much of the approval process is you actually trying to advise from the position of a person trying to get something done about what's possible, right? Because you're dealing with people that aren't necessarily builders. They're they manage municipalities and they kind of push their boards or their communities to build certain things. How much of it is you trying to advise them, but like you're coming from a position of someone that's actually trying to get something built? So your incentives are a little bit off. Yeah,
I would say in a rezoning, it's a little more. You have a little more interaction with the government folks.
Yeah.
But even then, these folks, it's a tough job because they're dealing with so many different issues.
Yeah.
And they don't have the bandwidth to really think about the blocking and tackling behind development. Like, okay, if this is by right, what could you do here? Versus if it's rezoned, it may be a better outcome for you because you can control certain things.
Sure.
So to be able to capture enough people that are making decisions within government, I think it's just very challenging because they just have too much going on and they have limited bandwidth and desire. But I think it's just municipality by municipality. And then on the by right side, like in the city of Charlotte, you have 15 or so municipalities.
When you say by right, so people understand what by right is versus not by right.
By right is we're going to present plans that are approved and you're not trying to change the use of the land,
right?
Basically. So it's
you're building what's designed, what is meant.
The current, you're building under the current zoning ordinance,
right?
And a rezoning, you're going to change what's in place to something else.
Yep.
So when I say by right, it's, we're using the current zoning. We're not changing anything about the land use. All we're doing is going through an administrative process to get a site plan approved.
Sure.
But even then, we're seeing 18 months because you have 15 different departments opining on these sites and making comments, and comments change from iteration to iteration. Maybe they forgot a comment in the last round and that changes everything. And then,
right.
And then it's a domino effect because you have some other people that are going to comment and it's just going to change things.
It's got to be extremely nerve-wracking when you have your capital at risk. And I guess knowing how long it takes you to go through the approval process on some of these new projects, are you going into a deal realizing that, the deal you have to work out with an owner in terms of the contract has to give you as much time as humanly possible? But in a competitive market, you want to be as competitive as possible, right? So how do you balance those two things? How do you balance the idea that you need to be under a contract for a prolonged period of time so that you protect your capital, knowing that you very well might have to just take the risk and close on the land before you get the approvals that you need?
Yeah.
Right? So it seems like a balancing act to me.
That's one way we compete with these large builders.
Yeah.
Is we have short timelines. We unfortunately have to give non-refundable deposits
Scary.
way too quickly.
Huge scary.
Sometimes at execution. And it's a risk tolerance.
Is it the kind of thing where you're taking the risk and out of every 3 deals you do, one's going to fall through? Or is
it's really an expected value calculation? And
explain that. Expected value. That's a cool sounding term, by the way.
It's really just if you say, okay, this deal could make you $1 million, or you could lose everything.
Right.
And what are the expected values of each? Like if there's an 80% chance I make $1 million and 20% chance I lose it all, I'm going to do that deal every single time.
What are those numbers? Like if you make $1 million, what is a tolerable risk to you? Losing $150,000 on, a due diligence deposit, or is it, what's the ratio?
It really depends on the quality of the land site.
Sure.
And
the upside, I'm assuming.
And the upside. And because we're really focused on what kind of downside protection do you have?
Yeah.
You know, if I'm putting $150,000 deposit on a liquid land site that's within the city, and even if there's a downturn, it's going to be worth more than, you know, what we're paying.
Yep.
You know, maybe not in the near term, but maybe in the medium term.
Yep.
We'll probably do that.
Yep.
So I think it really comes back down to, you know, what's the location, what's the quality of the real estate.
I can't tell you how many people look at land development. It's very sexy from an outsider's perspective, right? And they don't realize how much work and how much risk there is involved in actually bringing a piece of land, even if you're doing it by right, through the approval process and eventually the building process. People are always asking me, like, they're in the business some facet and they want to get into land entitlement because they see the huge payoffs that are available in the land entitlement side. If you were talking to someone that wasn't in your side of the business, that's thinking, it just seems too good to be true, I'm going to go dive in. What kind of advice, I guess, would you give to that person to kind of educate them on, you know, the benefits, the risks? Like, is it as sexy as everyone, you know, seems to think it is? Or is it just like any other piece of business where every business that looks great from the outside, once you get to know it, there's a reality to it, you know?
You know, it's just people don't talk about all the folks that went bankrupt. People don't talk about all the people that lose money because it's people don't want to hear it.
Talk about that.
Yeah, it's like they don't want to hear it. So
those people would be good guests for this for this interview. I unfortunately, well, I guess I'll ask the question: have you ever gone into a project where you're just like, this is a bad investment, we have to back out? You know, did that ever happen to you?
Yeah, all the time. You know, I'm definitely, you know, my role in our firm is to be aggressive and to put land under contract, and my partner Danny's role is to mitigate risk.
Sure.
So
one's the gas, one's the brake.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that.
And you need it. You need it to grow and be successful. And it's been a really harmonious relationship. But you know, our views on the market change by the hour sometimes.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we walk away. We not a lot, but you know, we have done it.
If you had to do it all over again, would you still have picked Charlotte as your focus market, or now knowing what you know, looking at other markets around the country, would you have gone in a different direction? Would you have gone to Charlotte, maybe branched out into other markets as well?
It's hard to see us scaling the way we did in another market. Mm-hmm. You know, this market is it's such a meritocracy.
Yep.
You know, you can come here and work hard, do what you say you're going to do, and be successful. And when you have the tailwinds of demographic growth and job growth, you know, this is one of the only cities, Charlotte, that's growing with respect to job growth. Whereas the rest of the country is flat or negative.
What are the biggest job growth creators in the market that you see? Is it the banking industry? Is it the tech industry? You know, service industry? Like, where are those jobs coming from?
I think the biggest driver is really, you know, young entry-level jobs that are created by the larger companies that are here, whether it's a bank, whether it's Lowe's, whether it's, you know, Duke Energy. It's people have seen young talent move here because there's a really great young ecosystem of, I can work here, I can, you know, hang out, play here. I can also live here, and it's all relatively good value.
Yeah.
You know, grew up in San Diego. I've lived in New York for business school.
Yep.
Lived in Providence for college. So I've lived kind of, you know, on different sides of the country. And the one difference here is you have kind of this area where a lot of young people hang out, work, and it's affordable. Yeah. And it's easy to get around, and it's clean and new, and that's pretty attractive to a lot of young talent.
Yeah.
So that helps job growth, because at the end of the day, like, if you don't have to drag people here to work, and you have a really good corporate tax environment, you have a good business environment, you know, businesses are going to grow. Yeah. So, you know, the city's done a lot for us, and it's hard to see the kind of scale that we've achieved. You know, going from, you know, building a few homes 5 years ago to several hundred every year on the Wickenden side to, you know, originating over $110-20 million this year.
Yeah, it's crazy there. I mean, I'm from New York originally, and it seems like moving from the suburbs in New York to the city is like, it's almost an aspiration. You know, when I was younger, all I wanted to do was live in the city, and it's so hard to make that leap. In Charlotte, it seems like the city's more connected to the suburbs. There's less of a hurdle. I don't know why that is. You know, maybe it's because in New York you have to go over 3 bridges in any direction. Yeah. Here, you just have to go down the interstate. It's more connected. That's a good feature of Charlotte. I think it's like if you work in the city, it's not that hard to live a little bit further out, or if you want to live in the city, you have all that around you.
It's just easier to get things done.
Yeah,
and it's not a headache. Like imagine you going into the city when you lived.
It cost me $40 first of all,
and it's just an event.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be an event to get things done. It precludes growth, and it hinders getting actual work done or productivity.
And does that kind of give you some direction on the kind of housing that Northway has to build? Is there different housing here than like in a suburb of New York or like a Dallas or a Jacksonville? Like, is there anything special about the kind of houses and the kind of people that you're hoping those houses will appeal to when you think about, how to design houses?
It really depends on the product line. I mean, right now we're building some 700 square foot homes.
Really?
Because that's another way. It's another way we compete with large builders because, no large builder.
Who's buying those 700 square foot homes?
They're coming out of an apartment. It's basically a detached apartment with a backyard.
Really?
So if you have a dog and you live in an apartment building, you have the same space. The payment is actually pretty similar. Yep. You have a new house and you have a backyard.
Yep.
So, that's one thing that we're doing that's pretty interesting. And we're catering towards, the under 500 space. We see mostly people that are moving out of an apartment that are looking for a nice yard. They're looking for a detached dwelling. They're looking for a garage, things like that.
So that's you looking at a piece of land thinking there's this audience of people that are moving out of apartments. They don't need a lot of space yet, but they want a garage. They don't want to live in an apartment building. And I can't imagine there are developers that actually build lots for a 700 square foot house.
No, you can't.
So
you can't make it
you
work.
guys looking at that land thinking this is a product type we think will fit. We're going to develop the land as such and then build these homes.
Yeah. It's just I'd say the demographic really depends on the product line. Yeah. But if you're trying to have somebody move out of an apartment, they want their own space. Yep. Like maybe they want to just go to a detached home instead of a townhome because that's kind of transitional. Yep. Right. You still.
Yep. So looking out and kind of summing it up, where do you think it goes from here? Do you think you expand your lending business? Do you think you go to other markets with Northway Homes? Do you think you get into another line of business? What's the next 5 years look like for you?
It's all about the cycle. We really are in the business of allocation. And this past 5-year run has been all about home building. Yeah. Because you're rewarded, the home building market just kind of went up and to the right. Mm-hmm. And you're rewarded from doing any deal as you've sold plenty of lot deals. Sure. Whether it's paper lots, finished lots, whatever, if it had a heartbeat and it was a lot, you're selling the shit out of it. Yeah. So
if there was a case to be made, someone would buy that case and there was money there. Yeah. Now there has to be a really good reason.
You have to thoughtfully design things. You can't just throw things out there and believe it'll sell.
Bad news for developers too, because now that there has to be a lot more thought. There always has to be thought put into it. I guess it's just a matter of where the capital's flowing and what the appetite is. It used to be. You build any home in Charlotte, it's going to get snapped up like that. Yeah. Right? Now it's a little bit different story, right?
Yeah. So it really just depends on the cycle. Yeah. There's great times to be a lender. There's great times to be a developer. Sure. And there's great times to buy existing assets. And we'll continue to scale where the market will allow us to and where the margin will be. So it's not like we're on a path to build 10,000 homes and be, another massive public builder.
Yep. And that's comfortable. Right? Yeah. It's good to hear everyone's always got their sights on larger, bigger, better. Doesn't seem like that's kind of your bent.
You just don't have to, you just don't have to, yep. you can, make the same or more money and focus on margin. Yeah. Across your different verticals.
I always thought it'd be more fun to build a company with 10 employees that was extremely high not high volume, but high margin, right? I guess it's just a different way of looking at what you want out of your business at the end of the day. And I guess that's a good closing place to close it. It's your business is a function of what you want to see your life become, I think, to a certain extent. Mine is a really small team where I have, a relatively high amount of volume being done by a very small group of people. And I like it that way. I don't want to grow to 100 people or 200 people. It seems like that kind of stress level isn't right for me, right? Mm-hmm. So in thinking about where this business takes you personally, what's your perfect outcome? Is small business kind of like you're doing right now, but you're not, I run a small business. Yours is much more sizable than me. The size of your business, where does it land you at the end of the day? Are you going to be happy just building the business as it looks today, or does it go somewhere else?
It's with AI, I think there's going to be a lot of white collar job loss, especially in accounting functions and administrative functions and things like that. So I think it's kind of an irrelevant number to think like, okay, are you going to have 100 or 200 or 1,000 employees?
Sure.
Because you don't really know how, this AI shift is going to impact a lot of headcount.
Resource for you. Sure.
But what I do love is I know that indirectly we employ hundreds of people through our subcontracting and construction business. We're the contractor. We're writing, 7 figures of checks every week.
Yep.
And that's creating a ton of jobs, and it's creating a lot of economic stimulation. So I'm really happy about that. But I don't think it would be, I don't think I could give you an accurate view on how many people or things we'll have, because if we scale our debt business, it doesn't require that many people to originate $1 billion in loans.
True.
It really doesn't.
Probably less nowadays than it used to. Right?
Yeah, and it's going to be lower as technology improves.
Yeah.
If we scale our home building business, it's going to require some more people, but we're not going to scale a home building business at the expense of margin.
Sure.
For us, we still have the same margin as the year we built, 50 homes as today we build, over north of 300.
Yeah.
So we're not going to sacrifice growth for margin because we're not a public company. Mm-hmm. We don't care about revenue growth. We want to just create value, and creating value is net income.
And in that's kind of your competitive advantage, I guess, right? You don't have those masters to answer to every single quarter. If you wanted to take a quarter and focus on quality and focus on even something like branding, you can do that because you're not being pushed to continually grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, Cyrus, this has been awesome, man. I appreciate you coming in today and giving your thoughts.
Thanks, Adam. It was great.
Thank you.